There comes a moment not with a thunderclap or a chorus of angels, but a subtle, almost imperceptible shift where you realize the world you've been living in is only one layer of a much deeper, darker, more mysterious reality. You feel it first as a restlessness, a discontent that logical explanations can't soothe. You don't even know what you're searching for, but you know the life you're living, isn't it? And that, my friend, is the whisper of the dark path calling you. Not evil, not malice, but the hidden, the forbidden, the uncomfortable truths that most avoid, and yet you are being chosen to uncover. You didn't stumble onto this video by accident. You were pulled here. That's the first sign. Synchronicity. Things start aligning in eerie ways. You think of someone and they message you. You dream of a place you've never seen, then see it the next day in a book or film. Time begins to bend around your awareness. And instead of brushing it off like most people do, you feel a strange pull to investigate. That's not coincidence. That's your reality bending because your spiritual frequency is starting to distort the veil between what is seen and what is hidden. You are becoming sensitive to the unseen forces that have always been there, but now they see you back. Why? Because you're not like others. You've always felt different, haven't you? Not better, not superior, just separate. Like you were watching life instead of living it. People around you chase goals, relationships, and validation, and while you might have played along for a while, somewhere deep inside, it always felt hollow. That's the second sign. Alienation. Not loneliness, but a sacred solitude, the kind that breaks you down just enough to force you inward. And in that inward silence, something begins to awaken. A darker truth, a dormant power, a knowing that the world is a dream and you're waking up from it. But here's the paradox. Awakening doesn't feel like bliss at first. It feels like madness. You start questioning everything: your beliefs, your identity, your relationships. You begin to strip away illusions, and it hurts. This is the third sign. Spiritual disintegration. Your ego fights back hard. It tells you you're lost, broken, or going crazy. But let me ask you this: what if your madness is just sanity in a world that's insane? What if the pain you feel is not a breakdown but a breakthrough? What if darkness isn't evil but a womb, a sacred void where your old self dies so your true self can be born? I've walked that path. I've sat in silence for days, hearing the screams of my own shadow echo louder than any noise outside. I've felt like giving up. I've asked the universe to take me out of this world because the heaviness became unbearable. But you know what happened? I didn't die. I transformed. Pain became my teacher. Silence became my temple. And now I'm here, not just to tell you that you'll survive this, but that you were meant to walk this exact path. Not everyone is chosen. Not everyone dares to face their darkness. But you are. The fourth sign is the emergence of your shadow. Not just the parts of you that society told you to suppress, but the raw, primal energy you've buried since childhood. Rage, lust, ambition, power. These are not evil forces. They are misunderstood, misused. But in the hands of a conscious being, they become fuel for awakening. You're not here to be a saint. You're here to be whole. And wholeness means embracing the light and the shadow. You're not meant to transcend your humanity, you're meant to embody your divinity through your humanity. That's the real path of the dark chosen one. Radical integration. Things start to fall apart. That's the fifth sign. Jobs, friendships, even your identity. Because the universe isn't punishing you, it's stripping you. It's removing everything that's not aligned with your true self. And yes, it hurts. But pain is the scalpel the cosmos uses to perform soul surgery. Your old life must die so your real destiny can be born. You can't become the chosen one if you're still clinging to the identity of the safe one. You must let go to grow. And the more you resist, the longer the suffering. Lean in. Trust the destruction. It's divine. But here's where it gets even more mystical. The sixth sign is that you start receiving messages in dreams, in nature, in numbers, in silence. The universe begins to communicate not through logic, but through symbols. And if you're paying attention, you realize everything is a message. That crow on your window, a reminder of death and rebirth. That recurring number, a code from your spirit team. That strange encounter with a stranger, a soul contract being fulfilled. Life becomes a living oracle, and yes, you are learning the ancient language of reality itself. This is when most people get scared. Because suddenly, the world isn't random, it's alive, watching, responding. But again, I ask you, are you afraid because it's dangerous? Or because it means you'll never be able to pretend you're powerless again? That's the seventh sign. You stop blaming, you stop running, you own your power. Not in an arrogant way, but in a sacred, grounded way. You realize your thoughts shape reality. Your energy attracts experiences. You begin practicing presence, mindfulness, and manifestation not as trends, but as sacred technologies. You become the architect of your destiny. Now pause with me. Breathe deeply. Ask yourself, what would happen if I stopped pretending I wasn't powerful? What would happen if I embraced the darkness inside me not to harm, but to heal? What if the very thing I feared was the gatekeeper to my liberation? You are not crazy. You are waking up. You are not broken. You are breaking through. You are not cursed. You are called. The dark chosen one is not a villain, it's a sacred archetype. A soul who walks through the valley of shadows, not to get lost in them, but to light the way through them. That's you. And once you embrace that, nothing can stop you.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
There's a moment in every chosen one's journey where life seems to turn against you. Everything starts crumbling. The job you once found comfort in becomes unbearable. Friendships you thought would last forever seem to dissolve overnight. Even your body starts to shift. Sleepless nights, strange dreams, waves of anxiety or energy you can't explain. And you wonder, why is this happening to me? But let me offer something radical. It's not happening to you. It's happening for you. The universe is not punishing you. It's purifying you. See, when you're chosen, especially as a dark chosen one, you carry a rare frequency, a vibration that threatens the status quo. The systems, beliefs, identities, and relationships around you are built on comfort and illusion. But your energy, it emits truth, and truth by its nature disrupts. It doesn't ask permission. It doesn't wait for convenience. It crashes through the walls you built to feel safe and exposes what's no longer real. That's why it feels like everything is being taken from you, because it is. But not to leave you empty. To empty you so you can receive what's real. This is the sacred rebellion, the phase where your soul begins to fight for your liberation, even while your mind still clings to the familiar. It's raw, it's painful, but it's necessary. Have you ever tried to hold on to something that's already dead? A job, a relationship, a version of yourself. It hurts more to hold on than to let go, doesn't it? That pain is your inner being begging for truth. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, begins to destroy everything that no longer serves your evolution, not to break you, but to break through you. The old way must collapse, because you can't ascend while dragging the weight of who you used to be. The identity you built in survival mode, the people pleaser, the overachiever, the one who dimmed their light just to be accepted, that version of you doesn't get to walk the path of the chosen. That version has to die. And death, even symbolic, is terrifying. But it's also sacred. It's the portal, the chrysalis, the void where the old you dissolves and the real you is born. You might be wondering, why does it have to be so hard? Because the darkness tests what light cannot. When you lose everything, the only thing left is your essence. That's the point. It's not about success, it's about sovereignty. The universe strips away what you thought mattered so you can finally realize what actually does. And in that emptiness, you finally hear your soul's voice. Not the voice of fear, not the voice of conditioning, but the ancient primal whisper of your true self, the one who remembers why you came here. This is the fire that forges you. The dismantling of your fake life is the activation of your real destiny. You begin to see that chaos is not the opposite of order, it is the womb of transformation. The dark chosen one walks through this chaos with eyes open, heart cracked, and soul roaring. Not with perfection, but with presence. And as everything falls apart, something deeper holds you. A knowing, a presence, an unseen force guiding you. That's the real proof that you're chosen, not that life is easy, but that you're being remade in the image of your own divinity. Pause here and ask yourself, am I mourning a life I've outgrown? Or am I finally ready to become who I was always meant to be? Every breakdown is a breakthrough in disguise. Every ending is a coded initiation. And if you're in the thick of it right now, feeling like you're losing everything, know this. You're not being destroyed. You're being decoded. The matrix is spitting you out because you no longer fit. And that's the greatest gift. You're no longer asleep. You're no longer controllable. You're no longer afraid of your own power. You are not only shifting, you are being summoned. And the only question that remains is, will you answer the call? There is a moment, somewhere between the death of your old self and the birth of the new, when you are forced to sit face to face with your shadow and there's nowhere left to run. No distraction, no numbing, no pretending. Just you naked in the mirror of your soul, looking into the eyes of every suppressed truth, every buried fear, every hidden craving, every unhealed wound. And this, right here, is the real initiation. The shadow is not a monster hiding under your bed. It's the part of you you've been hiding from yourself. The part that carries your pain, your rage, your guilt, your shame, but also your deepest power, your rawest truth, and your greatest potential. Most people never make it this far. They spend their lives avoiding themselves, terrified of what they might find if they look too deeply. But you're still here, and that means something. That means you're one of the few brave enough to walk through the fire instead of around it. You're not afraid of the dark anymore, you're starting to see it as a teacher. And what that teacher shows you isn't always pretty, but it is real. And realness is the doorway to liberation. When you look into your shadow, you begin to see the patterns that have ruled your life. The way you sabotage love because you don't feel worthy. The way you chase validation because you fear being forgotten. The way you wear masks because somewhere along the line you learned that your real self wasn't safe. And here's the thing, none of that makes you weak. It makes you human. But being chosen means you were never meant to stay in survival mode. Being chosen means it's time to evolve beyond the wound, not just cope with it. You start to realize that everything you rejected in yourself is a key. Your anger, it's the fire you need to set boundaries. Your fear, it's the compass pointing to your next level of expansion. Your sadness, it's the grieving of a soul finally letting go of who it pretended to be. Every emotion you've been taught to suppress is actually a sacred messenger, carrying truth encoded in pain. And when you stop resisting, when you finally say, I'm willing to feel it all, you unlock a power that no external source can give you: radical self-acceptance. This is where the real alchemy happens, not in love and light alone, but in the union of light and shadow, in the willingness to see your own darkness and not flinch, to embrace it, not as an enemy, but as a forgotten part of yourself that's been waiting to come home. Integration is the path of the dark chosen one, not running from your demons, but inviting them to sit at your table. Because when you do, they stop haunting you. They become your allies, your protectors, your hidden gods. But this takes courage. It takes discipline. It takes a level of honesty that shatters illusions. Can you look at your jealousy and ask, what does this reveal about what I truly desire? Can you look at your manipulation and ask, where did I learn that truth wasn't safe? Can you look at your self-hate and ask, whose voice is this really? These are not easy questions, but they are the questions that free you. The questions that awaken the real you, the you who is no longer fragmented, no longer split between who you are and who you pretend to be. And once you do this inner excavation, something miraculous happens. You stop projecting your pain onto others. You stop attracting chaos. You stop living in reaction. You begin to respond from presence. You begin to create from clarity. You begin to move from a place of wholeness. The world around you doesn't change instantly, but your perception of it does. And because of that, your reality slowly begins to align with your truth. That's the secret most spiritual gurus won't tell you. Your shadow is the key to your light. The more darkness you can hold without collapsing, the more light you can radiate without burning out. So I ask you now, can you love the parts of yourself you've been taught to hate? Can you forgive the version of you that had to do whatever it took to survive? Can you stand in the mirror of your soul and say, I see you, I accept you. I will not abandon you again, because that is the moment you shift. That is the moment you reclaim the throne of your own being. And from that throne, you don't just walk the path of the dark chosen one, you embody it. There comes a moment after the chaos, after the disintegration, after the long nights of staring into your own shadow when something shifts. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It arrives in silence, in stillness, in a breath where you realize you are no longer the same. You've walked through the fire. You've sat with your demons. You've allowed yourself to be emptied. And now you are ready, not to return to who you were, but to become who you were born to be. This is the rise not of a savior, not of a saint, but of a dark chosen one. A soul who has met their own brokenness and chosen to build a new world from the shards. You are no longer seeking permission, no longer waiting for validation, no longer hiding behind the masks of who the world told you to be. You've seen too much, felt too deeply, died too many times to play small now. You've outgrown the illusion of safety, and in its place, you've chosen sovereignty. That's what being the dark chosen one is all about, not a title, not a role, but a responsibility. A soul contract. To walk into the unknown and create where others only consume. To speak truth where others stay silent. To lead not from ego, but from essence. This is where your power activates not as domination, but as presence. You walk into a room and shift the energy without saying a word. You speak, and people feel something ancient awaken in them. Not because you're special, but because you've remembered. You've remembered that your darkness was never a flaw, it was a womb. A sacred space where your true self was forged in silence, pain, and fire. And now that self is ready to build. Not just a new version of you, but a new reality. You begin to see the matrix for what it is. A play of energy, perception, and belief. You no longer buy into lack, fear, or limitation, not because those things don't exist, but because you now see beyond them. You've hacked the code. You understand that your thoughts are spells, your words are instruments, your focus is currency. And so, you begin to choose with intention. You become deliberate with your energy. You stop leaking your power into drama and distraction. You start channeling it into creation, projects, visions, movements, worlds. This is the moment you realize you are the oracle, the architect, the alchemist. You walk with the wisdom of pain and the vision of a prophet. You don't need everyone to understand you. You've made peace with solitude. You've realized that the path of the dark chosen one is often walked alone, but it's never lonely. Because you walk with spirit, with fire, with the ancestors who whisper through your bones. You've become a vessel, a bridge between worlds. And from that place, you don't just survive, you transcend. Now, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, what am I here to build from this? Instead of blaming the system, you become the system, your own system. One rooted in truth, depth, and cosmic alignment. You create art that heals, businesses that liberate, relationships that awaken. You become the blueprint others didn't know they needed, not by preaching, but by being, by embodying, by living what you once only dreamed. And in the end, that's the true power of the dark chosen one. Not the ability to control the world, but the power to remake it through the frequency of your presence. You don't escape the darkness, you redeem it. And in doing so, you become unstoppable. So let me leave you with one final question. If you knew you couldn't fail, what world would you create from the ashes of the one that broke you? Because you're not just shifting, you've already shifted. And now the world waits for you to rise.